And good morning to everybody watching this on Facebook. This is our Campty Field of Dreams, Get Your Hands Dirty series. And today we're at Delaterre Permaculture Farm and we're putting in our food forest. So thank you for joining us today. We're going to talk a little bit about food forests and food security. So the idea of a food forest and having food forests for us as part of this farm came about because...
Is it on?
Checking mic. Sorry, y'all.
Live TV.
Live TV, yes. I think I'm live.
Okay.
I hope you're hearing me. You don't need to be in the shot.
In the shot?
So yeah, we're doing this. It's all, impromptu TV here at Delaterre Farm. But we have Anne and Carrie. Anne is on the board for Campty Field of Dreams. And a few weeks ago we went to social things. And we put the Master's Garden there. And so they're here visiting today as we are putting in our food forest. And yes, we're on Highway 34, so you will have a lot of background as traffic goes in and out and passes us by. So I apologize for that. This is live, impromptu, you name it. Okay, so the idea of adding a food forest to this 15-acre diversified farm came out of a conversation that I had with Will and about growing up in Jamaica and literally walking out of my backyard and being able to eat so many fruits and veggies and just pick cucumbers or sorrel, which makes a great tea and is good for your digestive system, or okra, which just grew wild. And so and let's not talk about things like mangoes and soursops and sweet sops and June plums and, guavas and things like that. It was just, it was a wonderful childhood, but it also meant that I never grew up with a feeling of insecurity of how we're going to, where the next meal is coming from. We had banana trees and plantains and avocados and, breadfruits and ackee and just so many diverse fruits and vegetables. And so in developing this farm, that's what we wanted to do, was to incorporate that. Because really and truly, what are we doing here at Delaterre Farm? We're growing food for our friends and family. And that's exactly what we did before, at home. It wasn't considered a farm, but we grew food for our friends and family. And so here where we are today is in the pasture, and we are basically using what is going to be our pasture, and it's going to be used for intensive rotational grazing. So we will have our livestock come through here, and this is divided up into 4,000 square foot paddocks. So each paddock is 40 feet wide by 100 feet long. And so it's 40 by 100. And in between each paddock, we have a 10 by 100 strip. Hold on 1 minute. All of us are hot out here. Willa does not need
No.
a hat over his
It's a
eyes.
screen.
What's wrong with the
can't see.
screen? So do we need to turn it around?
No.
Huh?
Go ahead. I got it.
Do we need to turn it around?
No.
Okay. So, this is very distracting. Apologize, everybody. That's very unprofessional, but we got to figure out this stuff. All right. So where was I? So we're dividing this into 10 by. So we have in between our 40 by 100 foot paddocks, we have 10 by 100 foot orchard areas. And today, and we have a diverse group of things. So over here, we're going to do our peaches with a few pears thrown in. And then this is our blueberry patch. And then we have plums and other stone fruit. And then we have figs and over here, and then a few apples over there. And not apricots,
Olives.
olives and pomegranates and a fuyu, persimmon. So it's a diverse group of things. And yes, we will be doing blackberries and grapes, but we don't have any space over here for those. So those we're going to do behind the house in another sunny area. So that's what we're doing today. And so we wanted to share how we're preparing for and planting for this. And one of the things is, so we're planting fruit trees. However, to create a food forest, and a true food forest has up to 7 layers, okay? We're only working on 3 layers today. And that's what our goal is to create a food forest with 3 layers in there, but multiple different species. And so we'll have a canopy tree. And for our purposes, because we're going to be harvesting the fruits on a regular basis, we're actually going to stop our canopy at about 10 to 12 feet so that we can harvest easily. And we're going to train our trees that way. And then we'll have a medium story. And in this case, we're going to use a nitrogen fixer for our medium story. So that's either going to be moringa or it's going to be partridge pea. There are a lot of nitrogen fixers that you can use, peas being an excellent one. And then on the bottom layer, we're going to use something that's going to create a ground cover. And in this case, that's going to be our watermelons and our cantaloupes and pumpkins. So in the peach orchard, we're going to create a pumpkin patch. And so we'll be using it and designing and building those layers and harvesting from them. At the end of the season, the beauty of doing this 10 by 100 foot area or 10 by 85 foot area is that then we can bring in the ducks or we can bring in some chickens and we can let them clean up after the harvest, as well as fertilize the area for the next season. So we're letting the animals do as much of the work as possible. And so today we're going to talk through doing our food forest. Now, in the last class that we had on our Sustainable Ag Farmer Education class, and Teaming with Microbes is a great book. If you missed the class, the videos are on Campty Field of Dreams. You can go out and watch the videos. Teaming with Microbes is a wonderful book that talks about the importance of the microbial activity in the soil food web. And so as we're designing our food forest, we will be integrating that into our food forest. And what we learned last week was that mature forests are fungally dominated. So if you're going to add compost, you want to add compost that is fungally dominated. In this case, we don't have any fungally dominated compost, so we're going to help the ground create it. And we're going to do that by doing a quasi-hugelculture bed. In other words, we're going to add wood to the ground and let the microbes themselves do the creation, okay? The more wood, the more charcoal you add to it, what you're doing is you're giving them, you know, call it food and an apartment complex. You're making it stable for them to come, set up shop, and have a really good quality of life. And that will in turn help your fruit trees and your plants in the garden. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Wellen. We're going to plant our tree. It also gives us the benefit of using the BCS rotary plow in and not necessarily the way it was designed for way, but it really does help us cut down on the work here. So Wellen's going to run the BCS and we're going to need to, so this is all live. So we're going to go through this as, um, you know, a live demonstration. I'll try to talk you through it, okay? So now we have this wonderful trenches in the rotary plow, you know, and what the rotary plow does is just basically throw the dirt to the side. Um, the reason why we use the rotary plow is because we want to lift up our garden beds, our permanent beds. We get 66 inches of rainfall in Louisiana a year. So the soil gets really, really um, waterlogged. So we're using it to lift up the beds so that we have raised beds. And we'll do that probably once a year where we will rebuild our beds and shape our beds with the rotary plow. And that keeps us out of our beds. Here we're using it in a totally different um, way. We're using it to actually dig a trench. And the reason for that is because we want to add some wood to this trench. And we're going to add the wood in between where we're planting our plants to create that wonderful environment for our trees. So we need to put out the tape. And these trees, the thing about blueberries is you can plant them as close as 2.5 feet apart, and then they make a great hedge. We're planting them 5 feet apart and just allowing them to bush out a little bit more. Well, nice. The temperature is so much different for the world and in Portugal is more like San Diego. So I didn't think it would be low in the humidity here, but they said it is. soil. You can also see the texture of the soil. It's starting to clump. We're on very sandy soil. So when you see, this is after us putting in our first cool season cover crop. And I know some people will look at grubs and say, oh, they're bad for my plants. The thing is, you have to think in terms of food system, right? And the soil food web. They are part of that food web. And so you need to have all the players involved in developing your food web. All right. So I just wanted to show you all the organisms, all the little
earthworms.
Things moving around, and earthworms, and we're starting, our soil is finally starting to clump. And when you know the clumping action, that's coming from fungi. And so that's a good sign when you're starting to grow fungi, because they are nice and long. Now, you don't want to tear apart your soil, but we're doing this once and never again, okay? So this is our one time of disturbing the soil, and then we're going to set it up for success. Around here, a lot of people have enough space to grow a little garden, to have a few chickens, that's eggs. That's, I mean, you know, if we have bad weather, at least we know we can feed ourselves. That's important. The beauty of fruit trees is, you know, some year one might not do well, but another year it will do really, really well. And so having a diversity and of fruit trees really helps you ensure food security. Okay, so now where we have our little flags are where we're going to put in our fruit trees. And the rule of thumb is never bury it any deeper than that root ball. Okay? You want the root ball to be at the top of the ground where it is. On the other hand, you want to build a nice deep, a nice wide hole for it to put it in. So you would normally dig twice the diameter of the pot and put it in. So Yeah, yeah. So we're going to put in some pumpkin in here. Just plant a hole between each one. And then we'll drop a couple moringa plants in here. And the thing about moringa is it puts down a deep root, so it will pull up micronutrients available to the other. So, so this will be, and the 10 feet will be covered, we'll have electric fencing around it to keep the animals out. And eventually, as this matures and gets high enough to the point, then we can remove the electric fence and let them graze underneath it and fertilize this area as well. But I don't think we're going to have a problem with nutrients because of the slope. Everything is going to slope down, and so the plants will be getting all the nutrients they need in this little food forest. Absolutely. All right. Thank you, friends and followers, for joining us this morning to watch the start of our food forest. And go get your hands dirty. All righty. See you next time. Okay. So that yellow pumpkin, so it's just 3 seeds in a hole, one in between the